Good night. This is Fumi Sleepy Time Stories. Tonight's bedtime story is about to begin.
On a bright summer morning, a little tailor was sitting by the window, working diligently at his sewing. Just then, a peasant woman came down the street crying out, "Jam for sale! Delicious and cheap!" The little tailor found her voice rather pleasant, so he stuck his curly head out the window and called, "Come on up here, dear lady. Someone up here wants your jam." The woman, carrying a heavy basket, climbed the stairs and came to the little tailor. At his request, she opened jar after jar. The tailor examined each one carefully, sniffing them all, and finally said, "I'll take 4 ounces, dear lady, or half a pound will do." Thinking she'd found a generous customer, the woman weighed out exactly what he asked for, but then stomped off, muttering angrily. "God bless this jam," the tailor exclaimed. "May sigh. It give me a good appetite." He took a loaf of bread from the cupboard, cut a slice, and spread the jam on it. "I know it'll be delicious," he muttered, "but I must finish sewing this vest first." So he set the jammed bread beside him and returned to his stitching. He felt quite pleased with himself, and his stitches grew longer and longer. The sweet scent of jam soon lured a swarm of flies from the wall. They landed on the bread, eager for a taste of the treat. "Hey, this isn't for you!" The little tailor scolded and tried to shoo them away. But the flies ignored him and returned, in greater numbers. Furious, the tailor grabbed a towel and gave a mighty swat. When he lifted it, 7 flies lay dead, some even missing legs. "Aha! That was amazing!" he cried, marveling at his bravery. "The whole city should know what I've done." Without delay, he stitched himself a belt and embroidered bold letters across it, 7 at one blow. "Not just the city," he exclaimed. "The whole world must know." His heart leapt with joy like a lamb's tail. The little tailor buckled the belt around his waist. He decided to go out into the world, for someone as brave as he clearly didn't belong in a tiny workshop. Before setting out, he looked around for anything useful and found a piece of old cheese, which he slipped into his pocket. At the door, he saw a bird caught in a bush. He freed it and placed it in his pocket with the cheese. Thus he set off, proud and cheerful. Being small, he walked lightly and never tired. Eventually, he climbed a high mountain. At the top, he saw a mighty giant sitting and gazing around peacefully. Summoning his courage, the little tailor approached. "Good day, friend," he said. "Enjoying the view of the wide world? I'm heading out into it myself. Would you like to come along?" The giant glanced at him scornfully. "You puny squirt! You weak little thing!" "Oh, really?" replied the tailor. "Just take a look at this." He opened his coat and showed the belt. "Read what it says, and you'll see who I am." The giant read aloud, 7 at one blow. He thought the little fellow had slain 7 giants at once and began to feel a touch of respect. But wanting to test his strength, the giant picked up a stone and squeezed it until water dripped out. "If you're strong, try that," he said. "Is that all?" replied the tailor. "Child's play." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the soft cheese. Squeezing it, milk oozed out. The giant was speechless, though he still had doubts. Next, He tossed a stone high into the air. It flew so far it vanished from sight. "There! Now you try," said the giant. "Nice throw," said the tailor, "but your stone fell back down. Let me show you one that won't." He pulled out the bird and tossed it upward. Joyful at being free, it flew off into the sky and never came back. "Well, friend, how's that for a throw?" he asked. "Not bad," the giant admitted. "Let's see if you can carry something heavy." He led the tailor to a fallen oak tree. "If you're strong, help me carry this out of the forest." "Of course," said the tailor. "You take the trunk, and I'll take the branches. They're the trickiest part." So the giant hoisted the trunk, while the little tailor climbed onto the branches and sat down. The giant, unaware, carried both the tree and the tailor. Sitting comfortably, the tailor whistled a merry tune and even sang a verse of "Three tailors rode out of town." To him, it felt like a pleasant ride. After a while, the giant, exhausted, said he couldn't go on and had to put the tree down. The tailor jumped off, wrapped his arms around the tree and said, "Wow, you're big, but can't even carry a tree." As they walked on, they came to a cherry tree loaded with ripe fruit. The giant bent the tree down and offered it to the tailor, but the tailor lacked the strength to hold it. As soon as the giant let go, the tree sprang upright and launched the tailor into the air. The little tailor landed safely. The giant laughed. "You can't even hold a little tree branch?" "What nonsense," said the tailor. "I can kill 7 with one blow. You think I can't hold a branch? A hunter was aiming at me. I had to leap over the treetop to escape. If you're so strong, why don't you try it?" The giant tried but got stuck in the branches. Once again, the tailor came out ahead. "You are a brave little fellow," said the giant. "Come stay in my cave tonight." The tailor agreed and followed him. In the cave, more giants sat by the fire, each gnawing a roast sheep like it was a biscuit. The tailor thought, "This is way better than my workshop." The giant showed him a bed, but it was far too big, so the tailor didn't sleep in the middle. He crept into one corner. At midnight, the giant thought he was asleep, picked up a great iron spike, and struck the bed with all his might, thinking he had crushed the little pest. At dawn, the giants went off into the forest, forgetting all about the tailor. But the little tailor was still very much alive, cheery as ever, and followed after them. When the giants saw him, they thought he had survived the deadly blow, and now was after them. Terrified, they all fled. The tailor simply kept on his journey. After a long walk, he came to the courtyard of a royal palace. Worn out, he lay down and fell asleep. As he slept, people passed by and noticed the words on his belt. 7 at one blow. Oh my, they thought, this must be a mighty hero. But what's he doing here in peacetime? They hurried to inform the king. This man could be of great use if war ever breaks out. We mustn't let him leave. The king was impressed and sent a nobleman to wake the tailor and invite him to serve in the army. The nobleman stood watch until the tailor stretched and opened his eyes. Then he made the proposal. "That's exactly why I came," the tailor said. "I'd be glad to serve the king." And so he was welcomed and given fine lodgings. But the other soldiers grew jealous. "If we fight him," they whispered, "he could kill 7 of us with one blow. We wouldn't stand a chance." Eventually, they went to the king and offered to resign together. "We're just ordinary men," they told the king. "We can't serve alongside someone who slays 7 giants at once." The king was troubled. He didn't want to lose all his loyal soldiers. He began to regret ever laying eyes on the little tailor and wished he could get rid of him. But he lacked the courage to send him away, fearing the tailor might slay him and his people and take the throne. So the king thought long and hard, and at last came up with a plan. He sent a messenger to the tailor saying, "You are a true hero of great renown, and so I have a task for you." In his kingdom, there stood a great forest within which 2 fearsome giants had taken up residence. They wreaked havoc far and wide, spreading terror throughout the land. No one dared approach them, not even the bravest knights. The king said to the little tailor, "As you are a man who can kill 7 with one blow, you are surely more than capable of vanquishing these 2 giants. If you succeed, I will grant you my daughter's hand in marriage and half the kingdom as your reward." "That's just the sort of thing I like to hear," the little tailor said. "And I shall soon show you what I'm made of." He took only a rope and a sack with him and ventured forth into the dark, shadowy woods. He searched long and hard until at last he saw the 2 giants. They were fast asleep under a tall tree, snoring so loudly that the branches above them trembled. The little tailor wasn't afraid. He climbed up the tree with great agility, gathered a few stones from his sack, and began to drop them, one by one, onto the chest of the first giant. The giant stirred, grunted, and nudged the other. "What are you hitting me for?" he growled. "You're dreaming things," the second replied. "I didn't touch you." They settled back down, but soon another stone dropped, thump, onto the second giant's belly. He leapt up in anger, shoved the first giant, and shouted, "That was you again!" "It was not," roared the first. "But if you want to fight, I'll give you one." And so, like thunder and lightning, the 2 giants went at each other with all their might, tearing up trees and shaking the forest to its roots. The little tailor laughed so hard that he nearly fell from his branch. After a fierce struggle, both giants fell to the ground, exhausted and beaten. The tailor climbed down, drew his rope, and tied them both together tightly. Then he marched back to the palace, proud as a peacock. The king was amazed. Not only has he slain 7 with one blow, but now he's defeated 2 giants. But the king still could not bear the idea of handing over his daughter and half the kingdom to a mere tailor. So he devised another challenge. He summoned the tailor and said, "Before you may marry my daughter and share my crown, there is one more task. A fearsome unicorn roams the woods, devouring men and beasts alike. Capture it, and your reward will be complete." "I'll catch it in no time," said the tailor boldly. He took with him a rope and an axe, and off he went into the forest. He didn't have to wait long before the unicorn came charging toward him, its horn gleaming like silver. But the little tailor nimbly dodged behind a tree. The unicorn, unable to stop in time, rammed its horn deep into the trunk and was stuck. Fast! The tailor laughed, stepped out, and bound the creature with his rope. Another triumph, he said cheerfully, and led the unicorn back to the castle. But the king still hadn't given up. He now demanded that the tailor catch a wild boar that was terrorizing the countryside. It was bigger than any seen before, fierce and cunning. "No trouble at all," the tailor replied, and this time he took only a handful of dried fruit with him. He ventured into the forest again, and soon found the wild boar. It came charging at him with wild eyes, but the tailor ran straight into a nearby chapel and quickly shut the heavy wooden door. The boar followed and threw itself against the door, snorting and huffing. The tailor squeezed out the back window, ran around, and slammed the door behind the boar, trapping it inside. Then he called for help, and the beast was brought to the king in chains. Now the king could no longer deny the tailor's courage and cleverness. He reluctantly gave him his daughter's hand, and half the kingdom as promised. The wedding was grand and splendid, with nobles and townsfolk alike singing the praises of the little tailor who had bested giants, tamed beasts, and outwitted them all. But the princess herself wasn't quite so delighted. She had heard whispers in the court about her new husband's humble beginnings and began to doubt the stories of his strength and heroism. Late one night, as the tailor slept beside her, she overheard him muttering in his dreams, "Boy, finish that vest, and stitch that button tight, or I'll give you what for." "Good heavens!" the princess gasped. "He's just a little tailor after all." She ran to her father in distress and demanded he rid her of the impostor. The king, troubled again, plotted to remove the tailor quietly. He sent 2 knights to the tailor's bedchamber late at night to capture him while he slept. But the tailor, light as a feather and keen of hearing, sensed their approach. He leapt from his bed, grabbed his belt that read 7 at one blow, and shouted, "Aha! You thought you could sneak up on me? I've slain 7 men with 1 stroke. Who dares disturb my rest?" The knights froze in terror, turned, and fled. They reported back to the king, white as sheets, saying, "We cannot touch him, sire. He might slay us both without lifting a finger." And so the tailor lived out his days as king, ruling with wit and good cheer. Though he was but a humble man with a needle and thread, his cleverness, courage, and quick thinking earned him a crown, and the tale of the brave little tailor was told for generations to come.